was the potato. The potato in New Zealand, they used to call it spud. Have you heard this term, spud? Potatoes used to be sold in sacks, बोरियों में, because, oh no, ah, this one, right, yeah, the, the potatoes on the right, this is a Pakistani slide. Uh, they would not sell it on the shelf like you see it today. Of course, those days there were no, what you call it, those big shops, supermarkets. There were no supermarkets, so the first success I had was from a single cell I was able to produce a potato plant which had no viruses, virus free. That's why that article say the birth of a disease free potato. This potato not only created a beautiful potato that can be put on the shelf and be sold as a vegetable as you see it today, but also increased its productivity. The production of the crop was increased, it's lovely, and the New Zealand government, just like in Pakistan we have seed certification department, here in New Zealand they also have a seed certification department, and the seed certification department changed their system of certification and included tissue culture as one of the important aspects of seed certification. So not only through the efforts of the lad from the Khyber Pass, they increased the yield of potato, they increased the quality of the potato, and they also improved their system of certification. Come to the hybrid of peace. This hybrid of peace name is given by a journalist. When I produce this particular system through genetic engineering, through cell fusion and whatnot, I produce a variety of sarson foraging, and I give the name Salam. And that journalist was clever. I'm most grateful to him. There's a headline in the major newspaper in New Zealand as well as in the major, the farmer journal here. Hybrid of peace brings unlimited potential. Hybrid of peace, Salam, hybrid of peace, bring unlimited potential. And then he goes on, he has written one sentence that New Zealand should consider itself fortunate to attract Hanif to New Zealand and have his peace. But the impact of Salam is yet to be known. And this is the Salam. The photograph of the 1985, you can see the whole field, unbelievable. The whole field is completely destroyed by the aphids. Failure. And where the line I'm sitting with, this is Salam. It survived the attack of aphids. I was surprised. In 2016, I was going from Palmerston North to Hastings, and Woodwell is a place. And it's a dairy farm on the roadside, and there was about a few hectares of the same brassica growing. No, on the basis of salam, pine gold guineas develop a hybrid exactly the same that I had done with salam. So it's another salam here and grown. And I don't know whether I put that photo or not, but anyhow. And then um, I don't know if you're going to further detail, but it has brought, you know, and I'm really attached emotionally to my science, and I get emotional. Okay, we leave that one. Let's come to the next one. Lavender. Anyhow, that salam or forage is economically extremely important in this society because a few people have noticed the lambing season is in August, and August is severe winter. Grass has a narrow leaf. Grass do not grow during cold season. They just stay on the ground, whether it is in Kalam in Pakistan or whether it is Canterbury or Woodwell here, the same story. Grass will stay until the sun rises and the temperature goes up. But brassica के लिए, सरसों के लिए, there is no such restrictions. Brassica can grow under cold climate. So when the lamb is born, they need want to feed. So what they do is they feed it on the forage brassica, and that is why it is so important in this culture. I tried the same in Kava, and it works. Okay, we leave that. The third technology. Uh, I also want to emphasize, if I use a slide, that there is a great difference between the Pakistani culture and the New Zealand culture. Here, a scientist develops a technology or a technique, and the private sector is ready to grab it. So the potato was straight away, I wrote the paper in 75, and by 1976, Alex McDonald, the potato company, grabbed it and spread the seed potato. And today, when you look at the website of the Alex McDonald, um, I must mention this to you, that 75% of the New Zealand seed potato requirement is met through the tissue culture lab at Lincoln. This is on their website today. Since 1976, you can imagine. The same is the case of this hybrid salam is now universally grown by the pine gold guineas. They are the seed merchant of this. So no problem. There was no such thing that a research is done and it is lost. No, they are there to pick it up and take it over. It was not my job to do the marketing or to do it at a commercial scale. Okay. So I come to the third one, lavender. Lavender is not a crop or something that is commercially grown in New Zealand. New Zealand on world scale is very small technologically. Um, so one of my colleague scientists, he was working on lavender oil, and he discovered a type of lavender which had quality perfume oil, and he said, give it to me. Can I do something with it? And I said, okay. So, why this slide is not shown here? this one, right? I took the same cells of the lavender and cultured them and was able to produce a plant from it. And this plant you can see here. Now, interestingly, this little plant that you see on the right there in culture, not only that I was able to produce the plant, but at the same time, the oil that it produces filtered into the media, like ras juice with the ras is going to. Now I have every reason to be proud, and I've written this. Lavender, which is indigenous to the Mediterranean, is an important industrial crop of France, Spain, Portugal, Britain, and a controversial unknown little liberty down under and a boy from the Khyber Pass is producing something which is universally now exploited. If you look at these two references, I deliberately put these. In all these countries that I named, including Brazil, today the same technique is used commercially and lavender oil is produced, which is used in medicine and perfume and all these things. And it is pioneered by the boy from the Khyber Pass. There was no previous record whatsoever, and it is mentioned there in one of its reference that it was pioneered by Hanif Qasi. And it still goes on. Whenever there is a paper, they always refer to it, pioneered by Hanif Qasi. I still have time? Goodness me. Okay, the last one. I wanted to just only give these 4 examples. All right. Loganberry. In New Zealand, there is one very famous saying. They say it's the little thing that counts. This is loganberry, blueberry, loganberry और boysenberry. हमारे यहाँ ये इतनी ज़्यादा है, खासकर जो कश्मीर और northern areas में. But what? Here they use it for all sorts of things. Jams इससे बनाते हैं, राइबीना जो ड्रिंक है बच्चों के लिए वो इससे बनती है. And one of my colleagues, he was a breeder on these small fruits, we call it the loganberry here. And I was able to, yeah, there's no photo of this. I was, उसमें ये prickles of the thorns, and they are interested to produce a thornless material. And I grow a plant from a single cell, and from that I was able to produce a progeny of seed which produce 2 types of plants: thornless and thorny. And the next one. This is an email from Harvey Hall, greeting from New Zealand. Date is May 2006. This gentleman writes to me that, Hanif, I met your student, Dr. Wajid Hussain, and he gave me your email. And then he writes to me, if you remember, you took epidermal material from Chimera loganberry and generated a whole plant which breed true for dominant thornless. This gene for thornlessness has been terrific in the development of new cultivars of blackberry, loganberry, boysenberry, and other hybrid berries. For this help, I am most grateful, as it has become an important part of what I have produced over the years, and derivatives of this plant have been sent to Europe, North America, and being used. Effective. Transfer of technology, yes, I went back after 20 years of working here with the DSIR, and it's a different story, but anyhow, I was able to transfer technology to Pakistan. As I mentioned, here in New Zealand, the private sector was readily available to take your technology. Then globally, yes, everybody was keen to cooperate with New Zealand. Diplomatically, the Japanese is a good example. Monsanto and Pacific Seed and all these big companies, they took up. And with this same sentiment, I went to Pakistan, and what happened in Pakistan, I was able to, this potato I was able to produce in Ahmedabad with a GTZ project. So where there was an element of Europe in Pakistan, the technology taking up was not difficult. I was working emotional. When I was going, my director gave me two things. A letter, when I told him I'm going to Pakistan, he said, well, I would not have let you go, but since you are becoming a professor, because I always wanted to be a professor, but I could never become one. And now I would not stop you. So I'll keep your job for 5 years. If you become a bit irritated with Pakistanis, you can always come back to your job. And another one was that I was allowed to take the genetic material I had produced to Pakistan. So in 1980, through Toctin, have people ever heard this word Toctin? Transfer of know-how and technology through expatriates. There was a UNDP program in 1980. I was invited by Sindh Agriculture University, but Dr. Amir Muhammad was very strong. He made me stay in Islamabad, and I was able to introduce tissue culture in Pakistan and establish a laboratory at NARC in 1980. And for 2 weeks, then I went to Tundujam and AW, what's his name? Abdul Qayyum Ansari, Vice Chancellor. He was very upset. Why did Amir Muhammad stop you in Islamabad? Because it was me who requested your service. Anyhow, um, yes, the tissue culture was introduced, and then with the German project, I was able to produce 1 ton of virus-free seed potato in Ahmedabad in a glass. It's a beautiful facility that the German project had established. And then I was able to take that material of 1 ton and grow it in Batakundi. Have you people heard of Batakundi? Babu Sartab. Babu Sartab, again, did you people, I think Dr. Saab mentioned that, and also Imran Khan has repeatedly mentioned that there is no country equal to Pakistan in terms of natural resources that we have got, the climate. It's an interesting story, I'll tell you. I'm sure some of you have this experience here. When it is summer here, it's winter in the north, in Sweden and Norway and Scotland. The scientists would send their genetic material here. We will grow it for them. They will send a technician, or they themselves will come and take the data and then go back. How much expense would this involve? A lot. In Pakistan, in just a matter of 5 hours drive from Peshawar to Kagan, the climate totally changes within 5 hours. Summer is winter and winter is summer, something like that. And I would go plant in, let's say, in Peshawar from October to May. And in May, you harvest the plant, take the seed, plant it in May and June in Kalan and harvest it in September again. I did this. I used to do this. And that is, I think, only in a country like Pakistan we have this facility. And you probably you've heard, it has been used, been exploited, alhamdulillah, quite nicely. Um, where the difficulty was, yes, 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 yes. Also, I mentioned that the New Zealand technology transfer was successful in areas or in projects where foreign elements were involved, whether it was GTZ or it was anybody else, because they know the value, they know how to exploit the thing. And also it worked at the village level. This is a community center in Bunyar, in the village in Sawat, in the tribal area, and this is the same, exactly like a community center at Lincoln in Canterbury. It has facilities for, have you people heard, I'm sure those of you who have children must have heard of Karatani nursing. When we had our first boy, he's now I think 43 years old. When we were weaning him, we had problem how to wean a child. And this Plunkett nurse, Karatani, you are there, took me and my wife and we stayed in their hostel for 2 nights and easy. They helped us wean the baby. That was sort of thing. Child, woman help. It is in this village. This is a village of about 200 people, and I think, and I'm proudly saying, probably the only village in Pakistan where the health of woman is profiled and the children. And also we have established a community, what you call it, an industrial center for girls, because in our tribal areas, girls between the age of 12 and 18, they are restricted to the four walls of the house. You might be saying, Qazi, you are talking about the old age of the 40s, but it's not really true. Even today, girls between the age of 18, they are just waiting to be married or to a boy to be found for her and the likes. They were not sent to primary school. They would do primary school in the village, but for high school, no parent wanted their daughter to walk 10 kilometers, 5 kilometers to a high school and the likes. So I had this dirt in my heart. What can I do for them? So we established this, and we trained one girl from the village, and the incredible woman. She dedicated her life to the village. Not only doing this Karatani nursing, she was trained by Ridwana in polyclinics, and she is now has children of her own and completely dedicated her life to the village and established a VHU. And now the government depends on that girl in this center for the woman and child health. The photograph, I think, this one. This is the New Zealand High Commissioner. All the New Zealand 4 High Commissioners, they visited this village. They interacted with the village people. They spoke to the village people. And this 102-hectare forest, you can see this is a living example. It was first planted in 1986 when I arrived in the village. I shifted from New Zealand in 1985 December. When I told them the stories of New Zealand, how the masjid works here and how the sheep grow here and how the forest, I used to give them the example of 30s of New Zealand, because New Zealand went through hell in the 30s. They lived on the soup kitchen. I think it's a terminology, I don't know whether you people have heard. The soup kitchen. There were no employment, no job, no food. So what they would do is make a communal soup and feed the people the soup and plant Pinus radiata. And today, New Zealand is the biggest exporter of timber to Japan. So I told him this story, so the village people said, oh, why can't we do it here? I said, okay, it's fine. And I was able to get about 5,000, 15,000 saplings of pinus for the village from the American embassy. And they themselves planted it. And believe you me, today was about 2017. They sold the scrub forest, not the pine, the scrub part, for 35 lakh rupee. So the village community, this community center, is entirely run by the resources generated from this forest. And there is in the 1996 National Conservation Strategy of Pakistan, of which the punchline is done by Imran Khan. And example, Shoaib Mansoor, how many of you have heard of him? Bol film. He did that documentary, and he's showing this, and a village boy running through the main street of the village, paved from the resources generated from this forest. And Imran used this sentence, we have to create wealth from these barren mountains for our society. And I think he believes in it, and that's why the chicken and the eggs too. So should I stop here? About the book, I hope